and welcome. Today, you are my new employee, and that means you're getting one-on-one time with me. So now that you're here, let's start by setting up the bar, getting ourselves ready for a successful day, and then we'll put some coffee into the grinders, we will taste it, we'll dial it in, and we'll talk about it. But before all of that, make sure you grab yourself a cup of water. You need to stay hydrated across the day, and you can't just be drinking espresso and cups of coffee. Take care of yourself, and let's get started. So let's start with cloths, because you should really have at least 3 and probably 4 cloths, and they should each have a designated purpose, and they should never be used for other areas. So let me explain. The first cloth that we want to get, you can get it a little bit wet, a little bit damp, wring it out, and we want to use that for our steam wands. The other cloths, no other cloth should touch the steam wand, and the steam wand cloth shouldn't be used to wipe anything else. It shouldn't be used to wipe the machine, it shouldn't be used to clean up anything on the bottom or the tray. So that's for the steam wand. Now we can either leave it here on the tray, you can leave it kind of leaning up against the steam wand. We can put it on a plate, maybe up top, but I often like to just leave it here. Now the second cloth is going to go on the table. It's going to go flat on the bench, and it's only going to be used to go back and forth on the bench to clean up any spills, coffee grounds that we want to brush off. Now the third cloth should be used on the machine, or more specifically for the drip tray and anything kind of on the body of the machine. You can put it down here, and it should stay kind of on the side where the steam wand that you use less. It can just stay here and then move back and forth. And occasionally to get some spots here and here. This is going to have the most coffee grounds. It's going to have the most kind of soaked up coffee oils because it is so concentrated around this area. So using that just to go back and forth, but you shouldn't take this to use it anywhere else. Again, very specific designated area. Now the fourth cloth, which is a bit more optional, goes with your tamper and your mat. Wherever that is in your layout, ours is on the other side so you can't see it, but wherever it is, it should be a nice dry cloth so that if there's any grounds of coffee that you want to brush off the mat, you can do that. And if you have a scale where you're weighing the coffee, weighing the dose going in, you can use that cloth to clean up any spills or coffee that comes out of the spouts when you're weighing it. So that is the fourth cloth there. One other thing I forgot to mention is a bit of a tip that has to do with this cloth here, the table cloth. This one goes side to side, as I mentioned, and it just stays flat. Now, the top of this cloth would relatively be very clean across the day if all you're doing is going back and forth on the bench. And if you do pull some espresso straight into a cup, or if you're taking out an Americano, and let's say you spill something on the side, or you're pouring some latte art and a little bit of milk goes down the side of a drink, well, this is the perfect cloth to kind of just wipe up that edge because the top is so clean and it hasn't touched anything else. And just before we get really invested in pulling espresso and tasting it, we want to make sure that everything else in the cafe is ready to go for us and for our customers. You know, whether you have milk and cream pitchers, you know, have you filled them up? Do you have extra things on the condiment stand that need more sugar, more stir sticks, more lids? For instance, I can see here I've got a couple of cups. Well, these cups are probably not going to last me more than a couple hours in the morning, so top those up. Do you have enough takeaway cups? And has the drip started? Have you started the coffee in the morning so that you're not scrambling last second while you're dialing in the coffee to get a pot of coffee going and dripping for customers who come in? Just make sure that everything is in its place, stocked up and ready so that when you open that door, you're good to go. You're not going to be running around trying to find anything after our customers are already in and after they're already ordering. So now we're going to turn on our grinders. And you might have something different at your cafes, but that's okay. It's going to be similar setup. You might not have 3 grinders, you might have 2, but however many grinders you have, this is the point where we're going to start dedicating all of our efforts into the espresso because everything else is now set up. So we're going to fill up our hoppers. So now the coffee is in the hoppers, the grinders are turned on, and we need to think about how we're going to wake up the machine. This is a common concept that, it's been sitting all night. Some of the components even though they feel hot to the touch, they're not as hot as they would normally be during service. The internal components are not as hot. It hasn't been having water run through it. So we do need to do something to the machine to kind of get it up to the right temperature, to kind of get things equalized, and to get some coffee through the grinders. And the way we're going to do that is by grabbing the first portafilter. We're going to bring it to the first grinder. We're going to grind just a little bit of coffee, a good mound of coffee, and just eyeball it. We're not going to weigh it the first time. Okay, and then we're just going to tamp it down, and we're going to start that shot. And the reason we're doing it that way, it might throw some people off. And if you're used to weighing the coffee and you're supposed to weigh the coffee in and out, and you might wonder, well, why are we not doing that for the first shot? But the goal for the first shot is not to see if we're in the right parameters or to weigh anything or to be that precise. The goal, again, is to wake up the machine. It's to get some coffee going through the grinder, and we need to realistically simulate or pull a shot for the machine so that internal components can get hotter and that the actual coffee can come out and that there is pressure being built up with resistance to the puck. Because you might ask, why can't we just run some water through each of the group heads at the beginning? You could do that, but it's not quite the same as actually pulling a shot. You're creating some resistance with the puck and building actual pressure, and you're getting much closer, I think, you're getting the machine much closer to what it would actually be during service. And so that when you do the next shot, and when we actually start to dial in the coffee and weigh everything, it's going to be a little bit easier for you. It's going to be more consistent and accurate. But of course, we've got 3 grinders and we've got 3 group heads, so this is perfect. We grab the second one and we do the same thing. You don't have to weigh it, just get some coffee ground in and start the shot. You can pull it into the same cup. You're going to throw away these shots anyway, and just get some water, some coffee going through the system, and get some coffee ground through each grinder. Okay, so now that we've got all of the machinery kind of woken up and ready to go, we can get rid of this, we can dump it down the sink, and we can really start to give all of our attention and detail to every step of the process as we begin to pull shots and make espresso. Things are going to be different depending where you work and what your goal is and what you're aiming for with a shot of espresso. A lot of people in sort of a standard industry style will go for a certain amount of seconds. They will look for a shot to come out in 25 to 30 seconds. This is kind of very standard. People who are weighing their espresso will also add some extra variables of 18 grams as a dose going in. Maybe they use bigger baskets, 22 grams, and then they're looking for a certain amount of coffee to come out as well. So that's what we do here. We use 18 grams of coffee in. We look for 36 grams of espresso to come out, and we are generally in the range of 25 to 30 seconds for all of that to happen. So really, when you're starting in the morning, it's most important to get yourself in that range first so that you know that your shots are tasting good. Maybe they're not the best that they could be, but just get them all inside that range so that when customers come in, you're not serving terrible espresso. At least you know that it's going to taste pretty good. And then at least if you kind of get that done, if you're on a tight time frame, some people don't have a lot of time to open the cafe. At least you know that all of your grinders and all of your espresso are set up, ready to go in a reasonable range. And then as customers start to come in, you can kind of fine tune it and optimize it for flavor and kind of taste it some more and adjust other variables. So don't worry, don't be stressed out. Really simple. Start off, grab that first portafilter again. Gonna knock it out, clean it. And you really want, every time that you go in between shots, you want this to be clean, hot, and dry. This should still have its heat, so you shouldn't be leaving it around, laying around to get cold. It should be completely clean and wiped off inside with a cloth, and it should be dry. There should be no moisture, okay? So when you go to pull the next shot. So now we're ready to really start dialing in. Now when we're weighing our coffee, we really want to be precise and be consistent with no matter what we do every step of the way. So whether it's putting this on the scale this way, you should put it that way every single time. And not putting it this way one time or this way. Just keeping things consistent for yourself and for the equipment you're using. Now when it comes to grinding, just keeping it and directing those grounds into the center of the basket. You can also kind of move side to side. That will kind of help distribute some of the grounds as well. And then set it back on here. Now again, we're looking for 18 grams. We're at about 17.6. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to top it up. Okay, so now we're a little bit over, and I always like to have a cup here with a little spoon. And the purpose, of course, is so we can take a little bit of coffee off and put it back into the cup. It's really not too much coffee. To sort of take off 0.1 is really not that much. You don't need to take off huge amounts so that you're not going back and forth, back and forth. So now we're at 18 grams, which is awesome. Try to be as consistent as you can with the dose. If you don't have as an accurate of a scale, that's okay. Just try your best. So now we give it a tamp. And some of these things I've already talked about in another video about preparing espresso, so I won't go into detail too much. This is more about opening the cafe, and we just really want to focus more on pulling these shots and knowing what to do if they're wrong. So now we're here with our shot, and we're going to get ready to pull it. Now I like to just purge a little bit of water through the group head, and it's just going to clean the shower screen underneath in case there are any grounds in there. And we can give it a wipe. If we don't see too many streams of water coming through, there might still be some kind of grounds that are causing it to kind of clog up. So if I press this again, you might see some more individual streams of water that are coming through, and that's good. We want to have as many streams as possible because that is going to hit the bed of coffee more evenly with more streams of water. So we've done that now. We've used our designated cloth, see? And we'll pull it into a glass. So I'll pull one here. We'll lock it in, and we'll start the shot. Now it's going to come out. It's starting out pretty slow, and on the panel here we do have the seconds at the top and the weight of the espresso underneath. So this is really going to help us to kind of make sure we're in the right range. It's going to stop automatically at 36 grams of espresso, and then we're going to look at the number of seconds, and we're going to see if we need to make some adjustments. So as you can see here, that shot took about 33 seconds to get the 36.5 grams. And for us, that's a little bit long. So let's go back and we'll make an adjustment. So now we're back here at the grinder, and we're going to adjust the amount of time that that shot came out based on the grind. So for our little refresher, a coarser grind here, coarser individual particles, is going to allow the water to go through that puck of coffee a little bit quicker. And a finer grind, something with finer particles, is going to slow down the espresso. So because ours ran at 33 seconds, we want to go a little bit coarser. So I'm going to adjust, and for this grinder, it's pretty sensitive, so I'm going to adjust kind of one notch or 1.5 notches. But now we want to see that change take effect. So remember, you're going to want to purge some coffee through this system. For us, it's about 1 full shot of coffee that you'll need to purge and get rid of, because there's old coffee grounds with the old grind setting that are going to be stuck in here, and they're going to come out first. And so you might not see the change in the grind and in the espresso shot until at least 1 more shot. So we're going to purge it out. And we'll get rid of this, and then we'll pull another shot. So again, we're weighing it here, just taking a little bit off. Let's tamp it and see how it goes. So second shot ready to go, and I'll just grab a new glass for this, and I'll explain why in a second. We will clear out the group head, give it a wipe. Let's lock this in, start the shot, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so you can see it came out a little bit quicker, and we're on pace to be a little bit faster of a shot. Okay, so looking pretty good. So you can see even that one notch of a change was quite drastic. And that's about 25 seconds. Okay, so now what do we do? Well, we've got a 25-second shot, and so that's pretty good. It's within our time range. So definitely something I want to try and taste and see if it's working or if I need to go finer. But don't just discredit this 33-second shot either. And the reason I left it here, and I actually want to taste it, because even though it's a little bit over our desired range, espresso can sometimes surprise you. And it's 33 seconds, but it might have some qualities that you like about it, which might make you think that you want to move closer to 30. So just give yourself a spoon, stir that shot, and let's just see how it tastes. Like I said, I know this coffee is tasting really good at 25, and that is quite delicious. Really sweet, really clean, nice clear flavors, clean flavors. Like I can tell that there's kind of a Mars bar kind of chocolate stuff going on with a little bit of cherry fruit. It's delicious. Now again, I still don't want to discredit this 33-second shot. You pulled it, you might as well, for your learning and just for your knowledge, taste the shot anyway and see. And you can either confirm that it was too much and that you won't like it, or maybe it'll surprise you. So let's see. That surprised me, see? So I can tell that there's a little bit of more of a bitterness there, but not that much. It's a little more drying, and it's kind of what I expected from a longer shot. It's not as sort of clean, not nearly as clean or sweet as this shot, but those flavors, those kind of chocolate, dark chocolate flavors are still in here. But again, I do prefer the 25. So what I'm gonna say to myself is I'm gonna stick closer to 25. I'll probably add a few seconds to it, give myself a range where I'm confident making shots for the customer. So 25 to 26, 27 seconds is probably gonna taste very similar to what I'm tasting right now. And now that I'm happy with the espresso that I've had, with the shot that I've had, and I've got a range in mind of what I'm confident serving to a customer, I'm gonna move on to the next coffee, and I'm gonna do the same steps for each coffee. And as you get better and better at it, and as you get better at tasting, you should be able to dial in each coffee within 2 shots, maybe 3. And it just gets easier and easier. And as you get more confident with the coffee that you're serving and you get to taste that coffee more, you can be quicker, and it'll make your job easier. And you'll be able to open even in tight windows, like half an hour or 20 minutes that your boss gives you to dial in a coffee. Now, just to be clear and add to what I mentioned before, if I didn't quite like this, but it tasted good, then I wouldn't struggle and try to re-pull so many shots and waste so much coffee just to get the one coffee dialed in. Because especially if you have 3 coffees, even if you just have a decaf, your decaf should still be dialed in the morning. You should still taste it. You should still make sure that it's tasting good. And you shouldn't focus so hard on one coffee that by the time you open, you're having to tell customers that they can't have your extra special single origin coffee that you've got on the 3rd grinder because it's not ready yet. You should just get the coffee tasting good to a point where you're confident serving it. Go to the next coffee, get it to that same level, and then once they're all there and you've opened the doors, you've started serving customers, then you can start fine-tuning it and playing with the flavor. You can kind of, if you need to, you can adjust the dose, you can adjust the yield, you can play with the temperature. These are all variables that you can play with as long as you've got it close. Now, I won't talk about those things in this video. I might go into a little bit more detail in another video, but those are some of the basics, and you need to get that down. And with all of that said, my friends, this is really it. You don't have to worry too much about opening the bar. Don't stress out. Just get these things in place. Get your cloths in place. Get set up first. Do everything systematically. Do everything the same way, and keep the consistency between every step of the process in terms of how you weigh the coffee and how you tamp the coffee, and be consistent. And if you can do that, you're gonna feel more confident in your job, and you're just gonna do a better job. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and make sure you subscribe for future content. I'd love to hear from you as well in the comments below. Tell me what your favorite part of my video was. Did I help you at all? I'd love to hear that kind of stuff from you guys. And let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to answer everything that I can. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again in the next video.